a dead end, so there's no need, unless there was a phone call of disturbance. I mean, there's no need for them to go down there. And also, they've been coming round and round way before I'd even got to that part. So then they go ahead of me, and then they go round the corner. I thought, this is a bit weird. I thought, are they following me? Like, and then I thought, no, something must have happened, and it's just a coincidence. So I kept walking, and then they've gone round. Literally, the building's here. You can go this way round, and you literally can go round. And they literally went right round it, stopped right where I was. I looked. I couldn't see them through the glass. Like it was dark. It was at night. I looked straight at them, like, and then I've just turned round and I've walked in the gym. And I'm like, am I being paranoid, or are they trying to make me intimidated because I'm exposing stuff? And I'm like what? That's weird, isn't it? Because I've not committed any crimes. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Like, it was really strange.
Sounds a bit like the Freemasons, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I'm joking. No, it does sound really. It does sound quite bizarre.
I don't know. We'll see if it happens again. But they're not going to intimidate me, so it doesn't matter really, does it?
No.
They're hoping. I think that they're probably missing me because I'm not committed any more crimes. And I used to think how boring sometimes being a police officer, especially around here. It's not like that much going on. They used to probably love getting called to me. They're like, right, come on, guys, let's go. Like, they knew that there was going to be a commotion, and now and they don't like me, a lot of them, so they're probably annoyed that I've sorted my life out, to be honest. But,
and also because of your newfound fame. So, for the viewers, what is the name of your channel before we get started?
Okay, yeah, it's the True Crime Whisperer, and it's like an AI picture of me, makes me look better than I really am. And I've got like blue sort of hair in it, but yeah, it's the True Crime Whisperer, and then it's got my other links on there. And I've done Somebody We're Talking About on here. I've done a little documentary. My first episode of Banged Up in Bronzefield is on there, and by the time this is up, there'll be the second episode of Banged Up in Bronzefield. So,
is it Fran? We can mention her on the channel.
Oh no, so the Banged Up in Bronzefield is like a series I'm doing. So the first one was Gemma Mitchell, the suitcase killer. The one I'm literally working on now is Joanna Dennehy, because I'm doing all the infamous people who have been in Bronzefield. Fran's going to come on my channel for a live soon. I've done lives with Fran. I've done a story time, and I did one about Lucy Letby, but it wasn't in depth. It was just talking about what I think was going to happen to her. So yeah, there's a few bits up, and by the time this is out, there'll be more. So if anyone's interested in prison or true crime, then yeah, come and check it out.
And links for, obviously, the channel will be in the description box below the video. So where we left off on part 1, you had been remanded for 6 weeks and actually just entered Bronzefield. So what was it like going in?
So, do you know what, right? The craziness started before I got there, because I was still on the come down because I was doing bag, right, when I got arrested. So I'm gonna come down, and these Serco people, a man and a woman, the man was driving, and obviously they have another person there. She goes to me, oh, do you mind loud music? And I didn't think for 1 minute what was going to happen, right? So I just went, oh yeah, I don't mind, right? They put me in the little metal box, right? For people that don't know, when you're in a Serco van, you're literally locked in a little box and you can just fit on the seat. I didn't put my seatbelt on. I don't know why, I just didn't, right? Next minute, this drum and bass, and there's a little speaker in the little boxes. It was so loud. I was like, oh my God, I like literally couldn't wait to get to prison. It was so loud, I couldn't hear anything but this drum and bass. I don't know what was going on. They were driving really fast, and then all of a sudden they screamed and slammed the brakes on, and I've gone flying forward and smacked my face on the metal, because you're in the little box. And and I didn't know what had happened. And I thought, what's happened? Like, as I hit someone. Anyway, when we eventually got there, oh my God, and it took ages, like hours of that noise. they were like, oh yeah, a cat went out in front of us, so we had to put the brakes on. I was like, well, you could have blooming let me know. Like, let me know what had happened. So I was like worried. Yeah, so that was crazy. So then I got there, and you have to go through all the gates and have to check the Serco van and all that. And you go into processing, and you go in and they take your picture, they give you a prison number. It's my first time in prison, so when you get a prison number, that will stay with you if you ever go to prison again. But it was my first time, so they had to get me a prison number. They give you a little ID card. It's got your photo on, your mugshot, your prison number, like your information, date of birth, and all that. So then they put you in like a holding room. Now this time, the first time I went in, it wasn't that crazy. I'll tell you another time. The second time I went into prison, then they put me in that holding room, was a whole other story. Absolutely nuts. So well, I waited in there, and there was another lady, and she had like 2 big black eyes, a Polish lady. She was really nice. She was really crying. In fact, the nurse actually gave her a diazepam because she was so stressed. So they then took us on to the induction wing, which was A wing, and they put me in a cell. Right now, my first time in prison, I didn't think check the toilet. I didn't think check like the TV's working. I didn't think any of that. I just, it was a bit of a shock. And by now it was dark and everyone was locked in, and it was the whole induction room was silent. So I didn't want to kick off. Like, it's your first time in there. It's a bit intimidating. I went to use the toilet because I've been in this Serco van, I think, for hours, right? And as I've gone to go to the toilet, and I've lifted, because you've got like a little lid thing that you put on it. It was full of fecal matter. And it was blocked, and there was tissue all shoved in it. So obviously I rang my buzzer, and they're like, what? I'm like, look at my toilet. And she was like, well, sorry, there's nothing I can do about it now. And I'm like, what? I was like, I need a wee. I don't want to sit on that toilet. It's filthy. So in the end, I had to like hover. And I was stuck in there and then because on the induction as well, because COVID was just getting over COVID and that, you'd be locked in for 23 hours a day. And I was stuck in that cell for at least 2 days. Yeah.
Were you in the cell on your own?
Yeah, at this point. And then a double cell came up, and then the lady that I come in with, the Polish lady, who's really like stressed, we said, look, can we go in the double together? Because I hate being on my own. Like, I'm all right at home and that, but like in there with nothing to do, my ADHD, my mind, I can't. I like to be around someone. And she was really upset and nervous and needed someone to talk to. So it was a great match to go in together. So they put us in together, and I'm so grateful because 23 hours a day with no contact except for them bringing you your food. It's horrible, and I know I was in prison and deserved it and that, but it makes your mental health so much worse. And my poor woman I was with, she couldn't even eat. She was that like stressed, and they were like, if you don't eat, we're going to take to healthcare, which I don't think they would have, because they wouldn't have had space. But I think that they were saying it, try and make her eat. So she used to like take the food, pretend to eat it, and like hide it and put it in the bin. So yeah.
I've got a question on her then. Can you talk about what she was in for?
Yeah, obviously I'm not going to mention her name. Basically, her partner was abusive, and he'd punched her in the face, and she'd like her nose, I don't know if she'd broken it, but it didn't look right, and she had these 2 big black eyes. And what had happened is, I don't know the exact details, but what she told me was she got a kitchen knife. It's not a massive one, like a small one, she chopped vegetables with, but she used to cook a lot, so her knives were really sharp. And she's gone like that to get him away from her, and it's slightly sliced his liver. But he had like a little operation, and he was all right, but obviously she got arrested. Luckily, her family could afford a good solicitor if she wouldn't, and so she ended up getting out on bail, because if she'd got legal aid, she would not have got out, because there was another Polish lady in there who was lovely, who I had as a cellmate, and she was in for a almost identical situation, and she didn't have her own solicitor. She had legal aid, and she was in there on remand for over a year. So it goes to show how different it can be if you've got money to get out. Yeah. Have you got any questions before we move on?
Yeah, what were the other inmates like at that time? Because you're only remanded in there for 6 weeks this time, right?
Yeah, so I got 6 weeks for the breaking the injunction, which I explained about before, how he like duped me into going round and then attacked me, and then I got the blame. So anyway, so I got 6 weeks for that, but then I was held on remand because I'd knocked the police officer out, which I do feel bad for, because she didn't deserve that. I don't feel bad about him though. I'm sorry, and I said that at court as well. I'm not gonna lie, like, it is what it is. When you get abused and abused and abused, and you've already got severe mental health problems, and you've got nothing left to lose, you're going to end up exploding in the end, and that's what happened, unfortunately. So yeah, I got kept on remand, and then when I did go to court, it was Friday the 13th, and everyone was going, "Oh, wear your rosary, like, it's Friday the 13th, you're screwed, you're gonna get loads of time." And I was thinking, oh God. But then the judge, I had a really nice judge, and like, she shouldn't have really been lenient on me, because then I ended up going out and doing something again. But she gave me another chance because of she heard my history from childhood all the way up. And I promised her, and when I said it, I meant it. I said, I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm not going to do anything else wrong. Obviously, I did end up doing something again, but that's later on in the story. So obviously, before I went to court, I was in there for 6 weeks. And after you've been on A wing for 2 weeks, make sure you haven't got any COVID. They then put you on to either D wing, B wing, or C wing. And I went on C wing, and I got put in a cell. And my next door neighbour was Gemma Mitchell, who the news don't call her a suitcase killer, but in between us, like, that's what we'd call her. Yeah.
And for the viewers, can we talk about her crimes, please?
Yeah. So, wow. Let me think. Right. So she was extremely intelligent. Gemma Mitchell was osteopath. She got first honours. I've got more detail about it on my channel. I'm going to try and remember it as best as I can. So she moved to Australia. She was born in Australia. She was an osteopath. But then her mum and her dad separated. So her mum, sister, and her moved to England in Wembley. She then went back to Australia to work as osteopath, but then came back later on. And then she would go to church, and she met a lady called Deborah Chong. And Deborah was from Malaysia, but had lived in England for 30 years. She'd got paranoid schizophrenia, and her husband had died, so she was on her own. She was quite a vulnerable lady. And from what people have said, she was very kind-natured, but she'd have delusions, and she thought she was in a secret relationship with Prince Charles and Boris Johnson, so she wasn't well. So Gemma had a £4 million house, but the problem was she was a massive hoarder, and the roof of our house was all like dilapidated. And so they paid 200, I think it was 250, might not exactly be the right amount, but 250,000 or 230,000, one of the two, for contractors to come and fix a house. And they basically done them over. They took the money and didn't do the house. So Gemma had 90, I think it was £93,000 in her bank as well. So she could have sold the property, and she could have moved to a smaller one and had a nice, happy life. But she's greedy, and she's obviously like got a psychopath. So what she's done is she's got involved with Deborah and for meeting at the church, befriended her, and she's convinced Deborah to lend her £200,000 to fix the house. Deborah's then come round to Gemma's house and seen the disarray, the absolute disaster of the place, and she's sent Gemma a message saying, "I'm really sorry. I can't. You're stressing me out with the whole situation. I need you to only contact me once you've put the house on the market, because I can't help you anymore." Basically, something along them lines. So Gemma's not happy about this. Really, this is really wound Gemma up. She wanted that money for a house, and she's greedy. So Gemma takes a suitcase, empty blue suitcase, and on my channel I've got all the video of everything, and so if you want to see it in more detail, then it's on there. Now, I'm not trying to promote myself, but it's hard to explain it without having it all in front of me. So you see Gemma on the CCTV walking with the suitcase, and then she goes to Deborah's house, and I think it was roughly 2 hours later she was seen carrying a heavy suitcase and a smaller black suitcase, and she was struggling with it, right? Then I've got this, I don't want to get it all confused, it's quite a complicated story. So then I think a week or two go by, and that was it. When she was at Deborah's house, she stole her dead neighbour's information, right? She's so sneaky. So she's got his information. So she's used his phone, I think it was his phone, to order and his details to order a hire car. The man that's deceased, right? She ordered the hire car, she put the suitcase in the hire car, and she's drove all the way from Wembley to Devon. She's then dumped Deborah's remains in an alley, and on my channel you can hear the 999 call of when the person rings in, because they thought holiday makers sadly found her. When the police arrive, she's badly decomposing. And even worse, her head's not attached. So Gemma was also trained in dissecting human cadavers, right? So a few days later, they found Deborah's head about, I think it was trying to remember it, 35 feet away or something from where the suitcase was with the rest of her remains. It's so sad, it's so sick. How evil. I know I've done things wrong, but that's just pure evil over money. So then Gemma starts forging Deborah Chong's will, leaving it all to her except for 5% or something to Gemma's mum. Gemma's mum's not part of this. She didn't know what was going on. How she's going to get away with this, I don't know. Anyway, so the police found it. And that's another thing. So I missed a bit. So when Deborah went missing, she had I think she had a housemate or something along the lines of that. He rang Gemma and said, have you seen Deborah? She's left her belongings here and she's not come home, and that's not like her. And Gemma said, oh yeah, she was feeling depressed. She's gone to stay with family near the seaside. When the police got hold of Gemma, she told them the same story. Anyway, she became number one suspect, and that's when they started compiling all their evidence. On the way to Devon, her car breaks down. The hire car breaks down, and she's got the body in the boot, right? So the car stinks of obviously decomposing person. So then she has to call someone out, I'm guessing an AA or something. So it's pissing with rain, right? Absolute horrible weather, and she's got all the doors of the car open. And in the interview, which is also on my channel, you hear him saying to her, why was your doors open in the rain, Gemma? Is it because your car stunk of decomposing body, Gemma? And she just keeps saying no comment. It's really interesting to watch it all. Absolutely horrific. And she has, I'll get into that in a minute. Sorry, I'll get carried away with it. So where did I get to? So yes, so they put her door in the middle of the night. I've also got that footage. They arrest her, and she's so matter of fact. Like, if someone knocks on my door and said you're being arrested for murder, I'd be like, what the bloody hell are you talking about? She was like, oh, okay, can I get my shoes on? Like, what? It's bizarre to watch. The whole thing is bizarre. And when you've been in there, when I describe what she was like as well, she's a very strange person. So she's been arrested, she's on remand, and then I move on to C Wing, and that's how I meet Gemma Mitchell. And obviously I had no idea at this point what she'd done. None of it had been out in the news. There was rumours. Now, people would bully Gemma. So when people were telling me that she'd cut someone's head off and put them in a suitcase, because I think that a report had come out about it, but it wasn't like all over like it did. Once I got out of prison and the court case had finished, then it was everywhere. All the details came out. But because the court case was still going on, there wasn't that much. So when the girls said this, right, I thought, hey, is it true? Or are they saying it because I don't like her? Like, I couldn't work it out. And I don't like bullying. I hate people being bullied. So I was nice to her. And now I feel bad, like, that I was nice to her because of what she's done. Like, I'd help her out. Like, I'd give her she was always hung, but right. So she was a massive hoarder on the outside. And in prison, me and the other girls noticed that she'd hoard food. Like, she'd constantly be asking people, oh, have you got biscuits? Have you got fruit? And people used to get angry with her because she'd just go on and on. So the girls behind the servery weren't a fan of her. So if she asked for anything extra, they'd tell her to F off. So she'd come and ask me if I could go and get it for her. And I would get her like an extra milk or an extra pack of biscuits because I just felt bad. And then, so go on.
Before you found out her crimes, what was your first impression of her?
Never ever would have guessed. Never. She was like, she'd speak like, she was really well spoken, like, oh, I guess I lived with my mother. Like, her demeanor was so calm. It was almost, well, I suppose, but psychopaths are normally quite charming. She wasn't. She was like, it was like she had no emotion. There was no emotion there. The only emotion people ever saw was when, so some people used to go to classes and like do like English or whatever. And I think she'd started doing it because she was bored. She didn't have any friends. And someone was tapping a pencil like on the desk, and the only time that her character slipped was then, and she's turned around and going, shut up, and everyone was like shocked because normally she'd see. So people, I wasn't there, this is what I got told, but I know the person that told me didn't talk like rubbish, so I have no reason to not believe it happened. So like, it's like her mask slipped for a minute. I don't know if she's a bit more horrible now because maybe she didn't want to be because she was on trial. I don't know, because I haven't been in there since she was found guilty. I'd come out by that point. Is there anything you want to ask before I carry on?
So during your time in Bromsfield that time, was there anyone else in there prolific?
Okay, so there was not, no, I wouldn't say prolific. There was a girl that had got 17 years because she broke a man's neck, but she's not like well known.
She broke a man's neck. Was it a partner, ex-partner?
So from the story that I heard from her version of events, because I forgot her surname, so when I got out I couldn't look it up. I think this guy owned like a hotel, but it was kind of like run down, and he was letting her stay there for favours. No, sorry, he was letting her stay there, but he was expecting favours. And when he tried to, she freaked out because she was on drugs, and she stamped on his head, and it's broke his neck. Yeah, that's what she told me anyway. That was what she said happened. She got 17 years. So it wasn't until the next time I come in that I met quite a lot of girls that have been given long sentences since I got out.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So you were released after 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't know
What
how.
you don't know how. Like, talk us through your release.
Um, so yeah, I got out, and do you know what? I was only in there 6 weeks, but still, everything seems so weird when you come out because you're just used to this little cage of the bit outside, and it's just the noise and everything. It's just so weird coming out. It's like I lived in the town that I lived in my whole life, but when I come back, it was like it just looked different. Just for a few days, it just looked different. I did move house in the end, but because I got in trouble because of my door getting kicked in and my neighbours complaining, so I did end up having to move. But I'm still in the same town, just in a different area of it.
And when you were released, then where did you go?
I went back to the house because this is before I lost it. It was the second time I went in that I got told like that's it.
And how long was it till you got up to no good again?
9 days,
9
9 days,
days.
and yeah, and I do have a lot of regrets, and I know I talk about that, but I do feel bad because I got in a bar fight, which I think what I got told by my friend was I was falling asleep because I was drunk. I don't know why he kept serving me. He could see that I was getting more and more into a like drunken stupor. So I'm falling asleep, and he's come and like woke like gone like that to wake me like, come on, you've got to leave. And I don't know if it's trauma. I don't know what caused it, but I've turned around and just smacked him. And then obviously like he's like, get out, and then I'm getting angry, and then the police turn up, and then someone said to my mate, she's outside fighting with the police. So my friends come running out, and they got me on the floor, and then I've wrapped my legs around the police officer's legs, and I've yanked him with my own legs, so he's hit the floor. So I'm wrestling with two of them. In the end, I got pepper sprayed. I always got pepper sprayed, but that just made me more angry for some reason. So I'll just carry on, but blindly. But they managed to get me in the van in the end, and then obviously straight back to Bronzefield. But I didn't care. I walked in. So when I walked in the next time, so like, do you want me to go on to that bit?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so obviously I've gone straight back. I wasn't really bothered because at this point you've got to remember I had nothing really. Like my kids, I weren't allowed to see my children. Like everything had gone. My house was destroyed, so I really didn't care because I knew I was going to get food. I knew like I was away from alcohol, away from my horrible ex, and I was being made to take my medication on time. Like I couldn't force me, but they're giving me a structure that I didn't have because I was not able to organize my life because of the chaos that was going on. So anyway, so I've gone back in, and I've walked into so I've been processed, took photo, all that lot. Sent me in to this holding room. They've got these big blue plastic sofas. You can't move them. That's why that's why they are the way they are. So there's a lady sitting there, and she won't mind me saying her name. Her name's Nikki, and there was another lady there, and so I've walked in and I'm like, I can't remember. I had something in my arms. That was it. They give you like a big net bag with like plastic plate and socks and stuff like that. So I've walked in with that, and I'm like, "You're right." And she went, "Why are you so happy?" And I was like, "Well, I just don't know. I'll just back see me mates, like, because I've made quite a few friends that didn't bother me, which is terrible. But prison was actually better than being outside for me at that point. Now I'd be devastated if I got taken back because I've got like things to lose. I had nothing to lose then. So that really helped me because I saw some women, they were really struggling. They were really struggling because they've been taken away from a good life, or like, they had something going on that they were missing. But anyway, I digress. I always do that. So they put me in this room, and me and Nikki were talking to this other lady, and mid-sentence she would just go, and we were like, because we thought she was joking at first, so we kind of giggled, and then she'd just go back to normal and carry on talking. It was bizarre. So we didn't say it to her because it's mean, but between us, we nicknamed her Antifreeze.
Oh.
We never said it to anyone else, right? I know it's mean, but
You're a terrible person.
I am, but you know, it was me and Nick. We had to kind of like make a little joke of situations. We didn't say it to anyone else, and we never said it to her because I don't like bullying, but yeah, that is what we said between ourselves. But so then they've put another lady in with us. This just gets crazy, right? So keep in mind this whole thing spans over 4 hours. We were locked in here, right? We put another lady in, and this lady really like almost shaved red hair, like ginger hair, really slim, looked really mentally unwell, pacing back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, looking out the window, sitting down, curling up in a ball, like obviously not well. So me and Nikki were just like kind of trying to have a conversation between ourselves, and then the other lady was kind of half joining in, and then like it was weird. It was a weird situation. And then this girl, the girl with the short red hair, has come up to me, and she's lifted her top up, and she's gone, "Scratch my back." Right? And I've looked at Nikki, and I'm like, no, I'm not scratching your back. Like, so we kind of like had like giggled, like, what's going on? Like, what is going on? So then they then put someone else in. It just gets worse and worse. So this poor lady, though, I do feel sorry for these people because they shouldn't be in prison. They should be getting mental health help. Prison helped me with my mental health because mine was bad, but theirs is so severe. They need to be like sectioned, and they're not. They're put in prison. So this lady come in. She's really large lady, really smelt of urine. Her hair was all matted. And when you go in, they'll give you like a little microwavable meal. Like, it's horrible, but you're hungry, you're going to eat it. So she sits there. The other girl's going back and forth.